All right, we're gonna go rapid fire on this, and this is very important to do recaps every year because you guys know memory holes are real, and people try to hide information and make people forget about things. So we're gonna start with January. All right, Japan started with on shaky grounds for the year 2024 with a huge earthquake. It was 7.4, um, and that happened on New Year's Day. That's the next
Whoa.
day. So I don't know if you guys remember it. It was a slow, month for news. Then we go to a slower month for news. On February, we saw all the memes from the Willy Wonka experience in Glasgow. Carter, you remember that?
Yeah, of course. Who could forget the chain smoking Oompa Loompas that went viral? And for anybody who might have forgotten about this was advertised. I believe it was in the UK of an immersive walkthrough of the Willy Wonka experience. Everybody should have known something was up when every picture and advertisement for this was completely AI generated. There was not a single real image involved in this ahead of time. People showed up with their kids. They went through this weird abandoned warehouse of things that
It
looked
was a sad thing.
like an afternoon. The Oompa Loompa was a girl who looked like she, smokes 3 packs a day. They also invented this weird villain. I can't even remember the name, but it was this figure in a black robe and a silver mask that would emerge out of the walls and scare people. Which one?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Nope, not Squid Games.
Yeah.
All right,
Somebody look it up.
moving
This
up.
was the most insane thing. But hold on, before you move out of February, Humberto, the other
Yes.
huge thing that most people forget happened this year because it's been such an eventful year is the Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin.
Oh
Do you
wow,
remember
I almost forgot about that. That was huge.
the amount
No,
of information that took up?
it's called The Unknown.
Yes, the unknown over at the terrible Willy Wonka experience. But
Well,
early
that's a good segue to March because March saw President Vladimir Putin reelected by a landslide. Also during March, Sweden joined NATO. Let's move on to April. April, we all look like fools. This was the most underwhelming thing I ever experienced. It was terrible. Like everyone's, oh, total eclipse. Everyone get your stupid glasses, walk outside, and you had everyone staring at the sun. It was just like underwhelming. I don't know. How do you feel about it, Vila? Do you partake on it?
I did not partake in it because I wasn't interested in getting involved in the group think to that element. Like everyone's going to go into a direct line under this and like book hotels and stare up at the sky. I saw my brother did it, one of my brothers, and it was actually totally cool in that it became dark and then it became light again. But the idea that I'm going to go sit in traffic with a bunch of people, some of whom think the world is coming as a result of this bona fide, thoughts of cataclysm. No, I from a scientific perspective, very interesting. Do you guys understand why we have solar eclipses? Like, if you want to pretend that there's not some intelligent design behind the world in which we live, why the moon and the sun overlap like that? Because based on their respective sizes and distances from the Earth, they're roughly the same size that they overlap in the cosmos. So, of all the millions of planets and spaces out there, the sun and the moon are respectively of size and distance from Earth that they align to do something like that to freak the ever-loving hell out of people. If you don't think that's God playing a joke on people,
So magical. It's great.
Amazing. I love that twist.
crazy how that
Yeah.
worked. And I remember I wrote something on Twitter when it happened because a bunch of big accounts were like, "Oh, everybody looks like an idiot going out to look at the eclipse," and
That's what I thought.
I think I responded to something that Cat Turd wrote where he was like, "Don't get distracted by the eclipse. There's all these other things going on." I'm like, I don't know, man. I think observing unique phenomenon in the rotation of the heavenly spheres set in motion by God himself is actually a reason to go outside for like 15 minutes on a workday. And we can get back to talking about GDP when we're done with that. But it was interesting. Of course, we didn't see it in Florida. We all went outside like morons, even though we all knew we weren't in the path of where it was visible. But we tried. We put in the effort.
All right, moving on to May. This month, Donald Trump was convicted of the felony. We already talked about it in the first segment.
Yeah.
Total bunk, and I think this is gonna end up differently. I hope. Then we go to June. We had Julian Assange was released.
Oh yeah.
Big news. I don't know even how long he was in there for, but he agreed to plead guilty to the United States, allowing him to return to Australia. So I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I think it's a small W. Like it's a win, for people that are doing important stuff to make this world a more transparent place. Um, what feel about? How do you feel about it, Brandon?
No, I love it. I think he's a hero, just like Edward Snowden. I knew that he was a hero when all my national security professors told us not to say that we like him because we won't be able to get a job if we say that. Same thing about Snowden. So that made me like him right away and no longer want to pursue a career in government.
All right, and now we get like the year, like after half of the year gets really intense. We have July. July, so President Biden dropping out of the race
That was
and
so
endorsing,
wow.
yeah, and endorsing Kamala Harris. Then
You better not
we
skip
had
over the most monumental event of July, July
This year,
13th.
right?
The bullet that nearly changed. There we go.
I had to add. I cheated. I had to add two things to July. Yes, that there was a month that
I mean, come on.
Donald
I don't
Trump.
know if you guys
Huh?
can see. I don't know if you guys can see my desk from my camera shot, but
I saw it, Connor.
framed on my desk here.
Yeah.
This is the motivation for the year. One of the best shots of history.
Or the worst because they didn't kill him.
Depending on which side you're on, because now you just made it
Depending on what side I can't believe how all these people went out and celebrated. They're like, oh, like they should have gotten like we really saw how bad the left is when it came to this thing and how murderous they are. It was absolutely unbelievable.
It makes me sad
And
that people think that way.
oh, and the lies they spread right away. Like they didn't admit that Trump was shot for
Yeah, they were
it
like
took them
bullet shots. It was a firework.
Kelly, it took them 3 days to admit that Trump was actually shot. 3 days.
You
Like
remember
saw
the CNN headline: Trump falls after noise. On
Mysterious noise. Yeah.
And remember the whole narrative. There's still people out there to this day who maintain that he took a dive and then cut his ear with a hidden razor, like he's some WWE wrestler who's trying to make the stakes seem higher by bleeding. It's like the guy behind him was shot and killed. Corey Compton's father and a firefighter was killed.
And
what did you
aside from the Trump victory, there was something beautiful about this moment. Like I think the worst shot because like shooting a running candidate, like that's not the America we want. So I think the whole thing is terrible and sad. Talking about the state of America, but I think there's a lot of people that came out, believing God after this. Because the thing is that like if it wasn't the hand of God of him, like just you moving his head like a quarter of an inch to one side, we'll have a whole different story. So I think overall, like it was a positive thing. I don't know. Then we have August.
the series of events that were set in motion by that shot
Oh, I've
will probably echo for decades to come, because the shift that happened when that took place, it was undeniable that it set something very serious in motion.
yes.
Yeah, but I was still I'm against candidates getting shot. That's my take.
Amen.
Controversial
Slightly
take.
controversial take. Then we had in August, they declare mpox a public health emergency by the WHO. And this picture, I took it from an article that it was hilarious. It was like how gay men saved America from mpox. And if I don't have the article here, if you start reading about it, and in that moment, I also realized how many like gay orgies go around. And the only thing that they did, I mean, allegedly, according to the article, is stop having like like huge massive gay orgies for like a month or so. So that was mpox, and
Well, that's what
I
we
think
found
that
out
was-
about mpox, is that all of a sudden, it's this big thing that turns out there's gay orgies and gay bathhouses that are
everywhere.
happening in record numbers, and it's a crisis that's going to start making the jump to. They're never going to address how it made the jump from gay orgies to allegedly straight people, but they're like, "Don't worry, it's going to happen." And then suddenly, children and dogs started getting it, and we never talked about it again.
All right, memory hold. Then we go to September, and Brazil tried to ban X. this was a crazy story. I think Elon did a good job playing ball with them, just enough, and it got overturned, so they can enjoy X back in Brazil. Then we go to October. 20 billion sent to Ukraine. There was amidst the middle of a political, like the most disastrous political campaign in history, like the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz campaign. I never think seen anything like it. And the whole machine around them, they were just like trying to, I don't know, like it didn't help for them to send 20 billion to Ukraine, where we had one of the biggest migrant crises that we ever seen in the history of this country. Um, then we go to the best month of the year, November. A lot of things happen, especially Donald Trump becoming president. Uh, it was a tremendous campaign. Like he won the nomination against all odds. We never seen anything like it in American history. He got prosecuted. He got shot. The whole media apparatus, the whole celebrity Hollywood apparatus, the whole intelligentsia, everything was against this man, and he managed to come up on top. And I remember the first time we saw him coming to the building, he opened the door, and he was like, the only way we'll win if it's too big to rig. Remember, Brandon?
Yep.
Like he
it
did.
sure was.
Yeah,
It was too big to rig, all right.
he didn't even say hello. That's the first thing he did when he opened the door.
He's like a machine, just going around saying the greatest hits.
Greatest hit all the time. So I can't wait for next year, because we're gonna get more Trump, and I just can't get enough Trump. And finally, in a very weird turn of events, the Hat Tour Girl, the rise and the fall of the Hat Tour Girl. This was the biggest psyop of the year. Like some random guy asked a silly question to like a southern twanged girl that she was an advocate of spitting on that thing. And she went to have her own podcast, to have her own crypto, and she this article. This I think this came out yesterday. She finally broke the silence, because the last thing we heard from her around like the 18th of the month was like, I'm going to bed, and yeah, she's done. There's a I mean, a class action lawsuit against her. So that was a year in review. If did I miss any stories from this year? Any big ones you guys want to?
Yeah, a ton. But
Yeah, I'd love to know your selection criteria of how Hawk Tuah Girls rug pull ended up being the biggest thing that happened in December.
Just
What's the biggest thing?
There's a whole lineup of stuff. We half of
Syria being overthrown,
downfall of the Syrian government, the
the drones.
the
That was
drones over New Jersey.
Humberto's got his priorities. He's interested in the Hawk Tuah Girl over the drones in Syria, domestic over international. Although the Trojan domestic.
Already City going bankrupt is bigger than Hawk Tuah Girl.
And Trudeau, his downfall. That
That
That's a good one.
hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened yet. We got to wait for their Christmas break to be over.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.